And we're back, everyone, for Game 3 here of EXNL versus Vengeful Reapers. EXNL versus Vengeful Reapers Coalition League's Noxus division here. And this will be the last game between these two teams. They've won one game apiece thus far, both on the blue side. And this time, EXNL going to be on the blue side. Vengeful Reaper is going to be on the red side here. And in terms of picks and bans, EXNL still losing the one ban for eSub. Will be banning out Wukong, Darius, Teemo, and Yasuo. Definitely respecting Microthorn a lot. And that Darius play was absolutely massive from Microthorn last game. So definitely explaining a lot about why they banned that out. On the side of Vengeful Reapers, they're going to keep their bans from last game with the Warwick, Nocturne, Syndra, Ahri, and Set. Now in terms of picks here, EXNL once more going with the Thresh Lucian, which Vengeful Reapers just sprung on them last game. So they really liked how that worked. They're going to play that on the blue side here. They're going with the Echo, Zac, and Kiana as well. So it will be interesting to see if the Zac is jungle or top lane, and where the Kiana and Echoes are going to go as well. Because all of them can really sort of go into anywhere here. So very assassin burst heavy on the side of EXNL, along with one really meaty tank. On the side of Vengeful Reapers, they're going to go with the Nautilus again, but this time pairing it up with an Ashe. So they will have the initiative, or the initiation, pardon me, with the Enchanted Crystal Arrow coming up from Ashe anywhere on the map. They're going to go with Diana again, as well as Mordekaiser and Aatrox. So that Diana, most likely in the jungle. Noise just played it last game, and it worked pretty well for him. Was a little squishy, but it was more of a fire and forget missile. You launch Noise in, he does his damage, and if he gets anything else after that, that's good on him. But if he dies, he did his job. The Mordekaiser and Aatrox, though, definitely different picks coming out, both usually seen in the top lane, but Microthorn known to be a bit of a Mordekaiser player, so I'm expecting to see that one top, and Jason KB potentially taking the Aatrox into the mid lane there, into either the Kiana or Echo most likely. Now in terms of compositions, I don't really see a ton of synergy here between the compositions. Both teams look like they just want to get in there and fight it out. On the side of EXNL, they want to just find the target, catch, burst, and that's what they did game one, and it worked really well for them. They've got two assassins as well as two long-range engages. The death sentence as well as the slingshot from Zac can easily hit people in the backline or catch anybody who's on their own, and that's how they won game one. So definitely a return to their roots, which works so well for them. On the side of Vengeful Reapers here, again, a very brawly composition once again. The Nautilus, Diana, Mordekaiser, Aatrox, all of them want to get into the middle of the enemy team. The more people, the merrier. The big difference here going to be Imagines on the Ashe. We have seen Imagines play Ashe before, and he does it extremely well. Great initiates the volleys, but the difference this time is that Ashe is not mobile, so while the rest of the team is jumping into the fight, Imagines is going to want to kite around the edges of the fight, and I'm just a little concerned here for the Ashe, because there's two assassins as well as a Zac who can easily get into that backline, find that immobile Ashe, and kill her. So I think Imagines is going to have a real tough game on this one, and I think a lot of it will come down to whether or not Imagines can kite and survive these fights here without just getting insta-bursted. So with that, it will be a game between the Assassins and the ADC. Who can actually survive there? And with that, the teams are loaded here onto the Rift, so we will be joining them as well, and we'll have to see first of all Wild Goose Chase has any connection issues, because he did struggle a little bit in the first two games, and that put EXNL on the back foot in terms of invading. But it looks like he's in, and they might potentially be invading. They are grouped up together right now. Level 1, both teams have hooks, but the CC on Thresh's hook might last a little longer. It looks like they're 5 stacking this bot lane, either going for a delayed invade or predicting an invade of their own here. One thing to note is the summoner spells here. Glub Glub going with the Ignite, typical assassin summoners. Jason KB, however, on that Aatrox is going to go with the teleport instead, so he will have a bit more utility, will be able to get around the map as well as have a more safe laning phase, a more sustained laning phase. In the bot lane, we see the cleanse coming out of MG Dilly, so no heal for the side of EXNL at all. On the side of Vengeful Reapers here, JDelian opting for the defensive exhaust rather than the ignite. So really both bot lanes here very focused on defense. Love to see how those summoner choices really work out for them, and whether or not it switching out the ignite from JDelian is going to work well, because in game 1 when we did see that Nautilus, it was with an MF and they were very aggressive, and that was what won them or helped them do well in lane initially before the jungler started interfering and it started swinging very heavily EXNOL's way. Now the junglers, for a change, not exactly mirrored here. Diana going to start her red, as will Wild Goose Chase, and JDelian with the sneaky play in the bush will get the exhaust, but the cleanse comes out onto MG Dilly, will keep him safe, and now JDelian going to take a lot of pain from the back end of things here. Both supports trading hooks, landing those hooks, stopping the ADCs from getting the maximal damage that they wanted out there. Good initial play from JDelian, but very good return play from Sustain as well. The supports carrying their individual bot lanes for now. The hook comes out, will land on Sustain this time, and unfortunately the death sentence doesn't connect, so that's going to be free poke onto Sustain there. And speaking of which, we did talk initially a bit about who would go where on the side of EXNL with their lane swaps. Both these teams, very flexible rosters, and it's going to be the Zac top lane, Echo jungle, Kiana mid. So the Kiana mid, somewhat expected. Echo jungle, very common, but Zac top, not as common. Not to say it doesn't work, it does indeed actually work very well. It has a very high sustain in the lane, picking up all the blobs if you can get them. And it's extremely, extremely tanky, so if you don't have a champion that shreds health, it can be very difficult to find kills. So a good pick into the Mordekaiser there. We do see Diana waiting in the wings, does manage to land the damage, but there's no ignite, and so Glub Glub will be able to flash to safety. Noise going to have to burn his flash as well to get out. And then we do see Wild Goose Chase now hoping to return the favor, but he's kind of low. We'll have to be careful. Shows up in the mid lane, but it's going to be Jason basically shoving off a 1v2-ish, because Glub Glub really didn't want any piece of that. Did not go to assist Wild Goose Chase in that gank at all. Well played from Vengeful Reapers, and looks like they're off to a solid start in that mid lane at least. We see some pings going down. They know Noise was seen transitioning from the mid lane towards the bot lane, but they don't have any wards. It's all been cleared out. So we'll be careful. They suspect Noise is in the area, and they are in this case right. So we'll have to see. Probably will be safe top lane. I'm very upset now in Microthorn going at it. A lot of poke back and forth, and it seems to not matter what champion these two play, they are going to be fighting constantly. Now Wild Goose Chase looking for a gank after clearing out his jungle here onto Microthorn, but he is taking the worst of this trade. Actually does not have level 6 yet, does not have Chrono Break available, turns back in, but the mace lands. That's going to be first blood from Microthorn, turning the gank, and he's going to get a ton of damage here on I'm very upset as well. The mace comes across. That's a double kill for Microthorn, and that's the last thing EXNL wants to see. Microthorn has proved himself to be masterful in that 1v1 in the top lane. Is an absolute monster, and you give him a double kill this early into the game, I'm very upset. Is going to have one hell of a time teleporting immediately back into the top lane, taking advantage of the fact that he's got the movement speed on to Microthorn, but he has to be careful. That shield is melting him. He doesn't have to passive this time. We'll have to flash out, almost going down there. And he had to remember that was a full wave of minions that he just ran right into. That really did not work out well for I'm very upset. He teleported back to the lane, and he doesn't get any advantage in terms of his health after that fight. And suddenly Microthorn is the one with better sustain in lane for now, and is ahead, is level 6 already, can potentially drag him to the death realm. Bot lane, JDelian lands another beautiful anchor toss onto Sustain, and Sustain down to half health. JDelian doing work right now with those anchor tosses. He's on point with them, but does have to be careful. Wild Goose Chase was in the area. I think they do believe they might have spotted him out with the ward there, so we'll know to be a little careful, but Wild Goose Chase is going to run away right now. Focus back on farming up a little bit, trying to catch back up after giving an early kill over to Microthorn in that top lane. And Microtorn also opting to burn his teleport really early. Just went back, bought the early haunting guys, so we'll have that much more damage coming out of him to match the null magic of Zac there. I'm very upset. And that means the top laners, once again, no teleports available should Dragon be the objective, and Dragon is currently available. So we'll have to see how that works. I'm very upset. Going to take a lot of damage here. Get dragged into the death realm. It's almost dead. The shield alone should be able to burn him down. That's yet another kill for Microthorn in that top lane. He's going to be able to get a plate as well for himself. Looking at the gold lead, that's going to be a 1.3k gold lead, and all of it sitting in that top lane. So Microthorn, absolutely massive. The other lanes all fairly even right now. No major leads for themselves. That might not help with the Dragon take right now, and it does look like VGR, Vengeful Reaper, is looking to potentially take that Dragon. They have started it up. They're going to pull it out, and they do have a pink in the pit as well, but it doesn't catch the other pink in the back of the pit, so EXNL will have vision of this going down, and we see Glub Glub coming in. Glub Glub is level 6. We'll have the ultimate from Qiyana available as well, and in this area, there we go. There's the ultimate coming out. It does a crap ton of damage as well as CC, and Wagushe is going to be able to get the steal on that as well. Great play from Glub Glub on the side. Jadelian gonna go down to MG Dilly as well, so that's a 2 for 0 as well as Dragon. But Jason KB, now the next target will get melted down, make that a 3 for 0, and EXNL firing back. And that was just sloppy from Vengeful Reapers to not see the red ward, the pink trinket, in the back of the pit there. And that just meant that EXNL knew exactly when to go in. And with the Qiyana, pits like that are very, very dangerous. Her ultimate, of course, catching anybody who's near terrain, connected terrain, and stunning them up. And with the way that wall on the pit works, everybody near that wall in the pit potentially gonna get stunned up. And if you weren't, and you were in the middle of the pit, that's when Wild Goose Chase's stun comes out and catches everybody. Jadelian finally eating a hook of his own now will also get chunked to under 50% health. And that seems to be the story of this bot lane here. Whichever support lands a hook seems to win the trade. That being said, EXNL is going to go base after this. They did pick up some kills and assists of their own, and they will want to shop a little bit. Qiyana already shopped as well. Did manage to pick up a double kill in that fight in the mid lane. Suddenly with that, the gold lead actually back to even pretty much, but there's slight advantage to EXNL as they do have the Inferno Drake for themselves. That first Drake going to give them a little bit more burst damage, and that's super dangerous when you've got two assassins on the same team. You see Glub Glub coming back to lane, instantly pounding away on Jason KB, and the damage he can put out on Jason is quite impressive. Jason building some health too. He has the Ruby Crystal and the Durange shield, and still taking that much damage. Does manage to trade some back over as well though, so it's not completely going Glub Glub's way. It's not that one-sided. But when you look at the top lane, that's where you start seeing the one-sided matchup here as Microthorn continues to gain leads onto. I'm very upset now with a 24 CS lead. That's about 4 waves here in the top lane that I'm very upset effectively has missed. And in terms of experience too, he's down about a level and a half right now. 2 levels for Microthorn, so that's absolutely massive in the 1v1s. The skill damage is so high coming out of Microthorn. Mid lane, we do see Glub Glub managing to force Jason KB out here, and Wild Goose Chase was waiting in the wings, potentially looking to see if he could get a gank over the wall, but didn't really want to dive between 2 turrets there, and Glub Glub wasn't really in position, didn't have the minion waves to go diving with him, so it would have been extremely risky to try doing that sort of stuff in the mid lane. And based on how both teams have played, the next objective that both teams should be looking at would be the Herald here. And Vengeful Reapers would have an absolute advantage trying to take that. Noise trying to sneak into the bush, but he got spotted out by the minions there. So MG Dilly and Sustain just going to back right off. Not to mention they have a pushing wave into them as well, so they can happily freeze this wave right here. It'd be perfect for them if they do. That means Noise is going to be wasting quite a bit of time unless they choose to dive this turret here. They do have the CC for it. Enchanted Crystal Arrow can go out as well as the depth charge, but looks like they will instead just back off for now, and Noise still sticking around. He's wasting a lot of time here if he can't convert a gank. MG Dewey and Sustain looking to just walk away. So yeah, Noise just going to have wasted the last 30 seconds in this bot wave. Oh, but the Enchanted Crystal Arrow finally comes out. There's the depth charge we were talking about. They're undeterred and they don't want to dive this, so they will not be able to get the kill. They do get a good burst of a bit of burst, but the culling comes out. Sustain with the Thresh tradition gonna steal that kill. Sustain flashing out will not be able to land. The death sentence will not get a flay either. Still a kill for Sustain in that bot lane there. And with that, we do see Microthorn making the proactive move. He's going to solo down the Herald by himself in that top lane. He's transitioning his leads. Again, that was the objective. We said that we did expect the teams to focus on Nyx, and Microthorn doing great work. The Ignite coming down onto Jason KB. Can they get the kill? Maybe, maybe not. But in the meantime, the bot lane, the Moonfall comes down. That's going to be MG Dewey dead. Sustain has to be careful now. The teleport coming out from Microthorns means they will be able to slam the mace down. That's going to be another kill. And now Wild Goose Chase being taken into the Death Realm. Jay Delian, everybody just waiting around him there. But even with the Chrono Break, how far can you get when you're in the Death Realm? The Anchor Toss lands, and that's going to be Jay Delian now picking up a kill. Not content to let the Thresh Sustain get a kill on Thresh. He fires back, picks up his own kill. And that's going to be a 3 for Not in the bot lane there. And this is the game 3 we were hoping for. Neither team able to find substantial leads here. Both teams firing back and forth. Now Vengeful Reapers, having picked up the Herald using the teleport, are going to pick themselves up their first Drake. And it's going to be a Mountain Drake. And I know we've said before that Mountain Drakes aren't that strong early, but there is one situation in which that's different. And that's when a tanky member of your team is very, very far ahead, such as the Mordekaiser. Microthorn in that top lane there. Now that he has that, will be able to do that, will be that much more of a menace, and ganks being thrown towards him, very, very dangerous. They're going to instantly use the Herald there into the mid lane, and Wild Goose Chase not on the same page there as Glub Glub goes in, will get melted, but Glub Glub coming back in does use the Kiana ultimate. They will be able to pick Jason KB out now, potentially Microthorn. He's got the 400 gold bounty, but there's your Mountain Drake, there's your Fed Mordekaiser. He manages to turn around, pick up the double kill, and he's 6-0-2, and we've seen this exact scenario happen before. This is what happened last game with the Darius. He starts getting really fed, he starts turning those fights around. 2 double kills, triple kills, and suddenly he just becomes absolutely unkillable. Does have the Liandry's Torment as well, so he can burn people down. He can build tanky from here on out. Now I'm very upset. Does have to be careful. He is hiding in the bush, potentially looking to pick up Microthorn, but I'm not sure he wins this 1v1. Instead, Microthorn just going to push this wave out. The slingshot coming in. He does get some damage down, but Microthorn with that mace already doing a ton of work. The shield coming in as well, and watch I'm very upset's health melt. Zac, usually known to be a health tank, but he has to go and build a bit of magic resistance, or he's not going to be able to survive against Microthorn. Has gone a little split, does build the Balmy Cinder as well as the Spectral Cloak there. So a little split on what he wants to do. He wants to build that health, but he needs the magic resistance. And splitting is not optimal ever in terms of building resistances. So we'll have to see if that will be able to work out for him in that top lane while trying to retain some relevance in team fights as well. Taking a quick look at turrets here, none gone down yet, but in that top lane, EXNL's turret kind of low as Microthorn continues to pound at it. They might potentially be able to get this turret here, and Noise is waiting in the wings as well. Slingshot coming in onto Microthorn, but I'm really not sure that I'm very upset wants this fight. And we take a quick look over there on the side of Vengeful Reapers. Their top lane turret also kind of unhealthy, as I'm very upset did get a very strong push when Microthorn teleported to that bot lane and assisted in his dragon take, but that will be first turret going the way of Vengeful Reapers in the top lane there. Mid lane turret also kind of low. The Enchanted Crystal Arrow is coming out here. Will just barely miss Glub, and instead it's going to be in the top lane. I'm very upset having to use Let's Bounce to try and disengage and survive here. Death Sentence coming out doesn't quite land. Jason KB sidestepping very well for himself there. will remain safe. And now with that top lane turret down, Microthorn has options. He can stay in that lane, he can continue to pressure, or they can lane swap. And once again, Jason KB getting ganked by Sustain. Sustain constantly looking for it, but unfortunately the Death Sentence misses. And it's the Ignite comes down, but it will be enough. The last empowered auto from Sustain there to pick him up. Glub looked like he wasn't sure if he wanted a piece of that at all, and so I guess Sustain is going to be the one to pick that up. He's now the bulk of the team's kills. 50% of EXNL's kills sitting on Sustain there. 3, 2, and 1 is his score line right now. Trying to beat that carry for his team, and that's not necessarily a bad thing to get your support ahead, but you do have to keep in mind that the support tends not to scale as well as the rest of the team. So we'll have to be careful there. Now Wild Goose Chase diving really deep in, going to tank up the turret, but will be able to just run out the side into the enemy jungle there. Not opting to use the Chrono Break for now. Death Sentence now coming down to Imagine, and Gloves in the area. They managed to burst him down immediately, but Jadelian has Gargoyle Stoneplate already at 17 minutes, will remain extremely tanky. The Moonfall coming out from Noise, and I think he might have misclicked there. There was nobody around him, and now he's going to be running after chasing Wild Goose Chase. But he might not get away, opting to try and turn around and burst MG Dilly or Wild Goose Chase around. But the assassination power from Glub too strong. Jason KB there now as well. Going to try and put the damage out. Sustain going to have to flash himself to safety, and now Jadelian's Gargoyle Stoneplate is no longer available, so will get bursted down, but the damage coming out from Jason KB in these fights, almost taking people down, but almost is not quite enough. Instead, he will go down and only Sustain dead so far. That's a 4-for-1, and Microthorn's teleport finally coming in, but can he find anyone at all? It doesn't look like he's going to flash in, but the claw will not catch Glub. And now he's under a turret and he gets shut down. That's a delayed ace. And that shut down 600 gold bounty, gonna head over the way of MG Dilly, and that's who you wanted on the side of EXNL. EXNL suddenly turning that team fight, and they are now back in the lead again. 1,000 gold. This game swinging back and forth here for both teams. The Cloud Drake is up, and I mean, EXNL did win the last fight, but they're not in position. Glub based, Dilly based, and Wild Goose Chase, the jungler of all people, also caught basing right now. So Vengeful Reapers just pulls the trigger on this and goes fast enough. They might be able to take this down before EXNL can do anything about it. But EXNL going to run in here. We see the teleport coming out from Jason KB, and can they secure it? Yes, they can. It's going to be Imagine securing because Noise already went down, but now the fight's broken up. Imagine's extremely low. Will get taken down, but I'm very upset. And MG Dewey in the midst of it, as is Sustain, and Jason KB doing the damage, but he goes down. This Gargoyle Stoneplate from Jadelian will keep him alive, but he has no damage, and that's going to be, again, another 4-for-0 in favor of EXNL that just won 2 massive back-to-back fights, and that's 9 kills in the last 2 minutes, as well as being able to take this mid lane turret, and that will be their first turret of the game, but the mid lane turret means that the map will be that much more open from them. Microthorn did not have his teleport during that fight and opted to try and sneak Herald instead, but there is a ward from the side of EXNL, just brandly new put down by Wild Goose Chase there. So they will see Microthorn try to solo it and will be able to stop him there. Now getting caught alone there, a little bit out of position. Noise going to take him down, but will pay for it with his life, and that kill going to go the way of Wild Goose Chase. That's a support traded for a jungler. Definitely worth it for the side of EXNL, and Microthorn has his obsession with the Herald, but will pay the price now as he is alone. Wild Goose Chase going to get dragged into the Netherrealm, but the Chrono Break will keep him alive for that much longer. Will eventually get shut down, and that bought enough time for the rest of the team to show up. Glub going to find Imagines, but it's going to be very upset going down to Microthorn. Microthorn, the man, the myth, the monster, still alive after getting collapsed on by 3. The pool will not find Glub, but Jadelian has to be careful. The Gargoyle Stoneplate just came off cooldown. MG Dewey has arrived. That's going to be a 2-for-1. And MG Dewey has to be careful. Does not want to overextend because Jason KB's in the area as well, and his team has backed off. So Vengeful Reapers firing back, and nobody gets the Herald after all of that. Instead, Baron gonna spawn as it's now 20:35. And that's a bit of a sign of how back and forth, how close this game is. The previous 2 games we did see Herald going the same way to the same teams. At this game, looks like they weren't able. Like, Vengeful got the first Herald, but the second Herald was so hotly contested and it was so back and forth that they couldn't really get a hold of that Herald for either team. And despite EXNL winning the last 2 fights, getting 9 kills, we can see that when the fights are very different when Microthorn is and isn't there. When Microthorn showed up there, I mean, they just couldn't take him down. They sent 3 guys to kill him, and he turned it around, got the solo kill on Wild Goose Chase, and then stalled long enough for the rest of his team to show up. Like, that is absolutely huge and beneficial for the side of Vengeful Reapers. And it certainly shows that even though they might be down kills, might be down almost 3,000 gold, they certainly aren't out of the fight by any means right now. We take a look at the items here as well. Despite the fact that EXNL is in the lead in the top lane, Microthorn still up 3,700 gold, and it shows in his items as well. 2 completed items. He's got the Nash's Tooth, he's got Leandri's, and he's got the Giant's Belt as well. And you can see whoever he catches is in for a rough time. Walguchi is having to use ultimate right away, and Jaydelian, being a bit overzealous, flashes and uses the Anchor Toss, will not bind him, and that's a flash for an ultimate traded in favor of EXNL there. Despite it being Vengeful Reapers with Microthorn starting out that pick. And if you look across the other champions here, though, we do see Noise completing the Runic Echoes as well as the Zonias and Boots on the side of Wild Goose Chase. He doesn't quite have the Lich Bane completed yet, so doesn't have the completed item to match the Zonias there. In the mid lane, quite a big difference here between them. It's going to be about 2,000 gold lead for the side of Glub Glub. He's 5-1 and 10, and Glub Glub's been actually doing a lot of work. We haven't really talked that much about him, but last game, even when EXNL was going down, the man was sitting on a bounty with his Lissandra. Was extremely far ahead. And this game, he's, again, very ahead, 5-1 and 10. Has managed to get the most kills on his team, taking that away from Sustain. And he's been doing absolute work in these fights, especially anywhere near the major objectives. Those pits just, well, they're just the pits for Vengeful Reaper right now, and there's nothing Vengeful can kind of do about that, because that's just how Kiana works in the bot lane as well. MG Dewey creating a sizable lead for himself in CS, also up about 3,500 gold, and has the Essence Reaver, has the Blade of the Ruin King complete compared to Imagines, who only has the Essence Reaver complete and looks like components for a Zeal item or a Hurricane potentially, but yeah, very far behind right now. So on the side of Vengeful Reapers, everything rests on Microthorn's shoulders once again. And Dragon is being started up here. It is Cloud Drake. This is the Cloud map, and the vision is being given by that ward. It has been cleared, and Microthorn gonna flash into the Kiana ultimate forces everybody out, so they will be able to secure EXNL, their Drake, and they're winning this fight as Microthorn getting completely bursted down. The Blade of the Ruin King doing work. Jason KB finally coming in from the side, but Glub Glub is 1v1ing him, absolutely melting him. Jaydelian gonna go down. His Gargoyle Stone Plate is worn out. And I'm very upset on a mission to take Imagines down. We'll find it. That's going to be another ace. You'd think Vengeful Reapers would have learned by now. Do not fight in the pit. But unfortunately, they get aced one more time. EXNL now has won 3 major, absolutely massive team fights for themselves. And with this, they could go for Baron. They can push for mid, and it looks like they're going to opt for this mid lane push, take down the inner turret in that mid lane, and then potentially an inhibitor turret. Noise has respawned. Microthorn coming up in just right now, actually, and the rest of the team for Vengeful Reapers will be coming up soon as well. They've got the inhibitor turret. It looks like they are greeting a little bit, going for the inhibitor, but Microthorn has arrived, and they have to be careful. Will have to run for the hills here, because if you get caught by Microthorn, you are dead. They take the Blast Cone over, but unfortunately that put I'm very upset in an awkward position. He gets grabbed back in here and does manage to disengage. MG Dewey, however, managing to kill Noise, as Noise trying to find will go down, and they're going to sacrifice Sustain. Jason KB now onto them. Will be able to catch MG Dewey, but the culling coming out here, and everybody has to be careful from the culling. Will disengage, and Wild Goose Chase from the back line gets a 3-man stun. Gets dragged into the nether realm by Microthorn and is running around for the hills. Does have Chrono Break available. Will use it to survive here, and it's going to be Microthorn potentially getting melted once more. No, he's going to get the shutdown onto Dewey. Instead, gets traded back onto Wild Goose Chase, and right now it's a 2-for-2. And both sides have 3 members alive. Both sides looking to disengage, because they've got members who are really low here. again, it seems like anytime EXNL fights outside of an objective, they don't have the advantage despite having the gold lead. Granted, this was off the back of an overextension. They did manage to get the inhibitor for themselves though, so overall, quite a worthwhile trade, 2 for 2 and the inhibitor. For the side of Vengeful Reapers, Noise going in really aggressively, is finding damage, occasionally finding kills as well. And Jason KB on that Aatrox has been a menace in these team fights. So the top side of the map for Vengeful Reapers doing quite well for themselves, but on the bot side, Imagine's really struggling to make an impact. He's 0, 4, and 3. Really, just 20% kill participation for his team right now is getting either melted or forced out of fights way too early, and that was the concern we had in the pick bans here. Picking the Ashe with a brawling composition means that he doesn't actually have much peel, doesn't have much safety here, and he himself doesn't have the mobility to keep himself safe in these fights, so he seems to be getting forced out of fights and not able to contribute that damage which you can with an Ashe. Whereas when we take a look on the side of EXNL there, everybody's really getting into these fights. The lowest kill participation coming out from I'm Very Upset, and he still has 10 KP, just under 50% for his team here. So still doing pretty well for himself in terms of trying of contribution to his team, and he also has a lot of split push pressure. Just took the top lane outer turret down as well. Death Sentence coming onto Microthorn, and that means a lot of poke. The culling comes out, will actually force Microthorn to disengage despite having gotten the Death Realm in, and that's going to be MG getting the kill. He will go down because he's really deep in, but he still managed to get the kill there, and they pulled everybody down. Kiana, Glub getting melted by Jason KB and the CC that Jdelian can put out as well. Imagine's finally finding himself on the board, 2, 4, and 3, but at what cost? As top lane, they're now just pummeling that top lane inner turret, and they will be able to take that down as well. So on the side of EXNL, they're trading 2 for 1 and a turret, and at this point in the game, honestly, the turret gold might not necessarily be worth it, but certainly just opening up the map is definitely worth it, because the game is not about kills, the game is about taking down the Nexus, and to reach that Nexus, you got to take down some of the turrets in the way as well. Now, EXNL has managed to respawn onto the map. Glub coming up right now. Dragon coming up in about 25 seconds, so both teams likely to put their attention on to that Dragon here. And if we look at vision on the side of EXNL, they've got really good vision on the top side there, so they will be able to do this Dragon in safety, knowing that Vengeful Reapers will not be there. Not to mention they've got supers pushing up the mid wave as well, and a huge minion wave in the bot wave pushing. On the side of Vengeful Reapers, a very different situation. Their warding is mostly defensive in their jungle. They've got nothing even in the river. No vision on Baron, no vision on Dragon either. And with that, they just instantly lose the Cloud Drake there, and that puts EXNL at soul point. If the game keeps dragging out, next Dragon, EXNL gets a choice of whether they want the soul or whether they want Baron, and they've got priority and initiative in trying to control the movements of Vengeful Reapers. But we might not even get to that point. As EXNL looking to push up that bot wave, they have the exposed inhibitor. They do have to be careful though. They've not been winning the fights on open ground. They do have about a 6,000 gold lead, but that might not be enough. And they're going to push as 4. They're going to leave I'm Very Upset pushing on the mid lane there. They have supers as well, but with the slingshot, he can rejoin his team really quickly here. On the side of Vengeful Reapers, they're a little split. They have to be careful where they go, and we see the flash depth charge coming out right now. Annoyed jumping the backline, but instantly gets sunned up, gets melted before the moonfall damage really comes across, and now Microthorn dragging MG Dewey into the death realm, but he will not survive. MG Dewey's damage is too high. The culling already doing a bunch of damage. Jdelian gonna go down. No, he pops a Gargoyle Stoneblade. It's gonna be Jason KB instead going down, and Imagine's having to flash himself to safety, leaving Jdelian alone, and Jdelian gonna get melted. Now Glub potentially looking for the assassination here, will get killed by Imagine's the damage, but sustain, and I'm Very Upset will be sufficient, and that's going to be a ace for the side of EXNL. They're trading 3 people over, but they have sustained, they have I'm Very Upset, and they will have this inhibitor as well, taking them forever, the support and the tank, but they will do it. They've got the minions in. Noise going to be the next one to respawn in about 4 seconds here. They do get the inhibs down once again, and will have continued pressure in that bot lane and the mid lane as well. Or no, Noise actually manages to push them off that mid lane turret because Microthorn has respawned as well. And while you might not be scared of Noise, you certainly have plenty to be fearful of when it comes to Microthorn. It's 31 minutes now. We're starting to hit that late game stage of the game where a massive team fight could end the game for either team. And you know, the side of EXNL, their composition is really coming online. Wild Goose Chase and Glub Glub with their burst damage, able to absolutely shred Noise and Imagine Doubts immediately. We saw that happen. Noise in getting into the backline doesn't even properly get the Moonfall damage off. Gets melted immediately before he can contribute anything to that fight. Imagine zoned out almost the entire time. Did manage to get a kill onto Glub Glub there, but still it was a close run thing. And for the side of Vengeful Reapers, they seem to be falling off a little bit. I mean, Ashe does do extremely well in the late game, but she's so far behind right now. Has just completed the Runan's Hurricane, built a bit of a Bilge Water Cutlass for herself as well. But when you contrast that to MG Dilly, he's completed 3 major items, has also paid the QSS tax for Microthorn and Executionist's Calling. And Microthorn was really, really strong in the early mid game. He's starting to fall off a little bit right now with the QSS tax being paid for MG Dilly, and he does and can get bursted down by the rest of the team as well right now. Jason KB as well, struggling to have the impact he had in the mid game. He is still kind of tanky, still does really good damage, especially in these clustered fights, but just not bursting enough. And now Glub Glub has to be careful, is running around, will get hit by the anchor, and uses the ultimate there to disengage. And here we see Wild Goose Chase. That's the assassination I was talking about. Instantly bursting Imagines down, and now Microthorn getting focused, will get taken out by MG Dilly. J-Delian down as well, and like I said, 31 minutes at this point in the game. Any major team fight can mean the end of the game, especially when EXNL picked up Baron for themselves. They're just going to push this in here, and it looks like this is the beginning of the end. They've got supers, they've got Baron, and now Noise diving in, will get the Zonias off, but the damage he's putting down is not enough. Will get instantly popped by Glub Glub as soon as the stasis wears off there. And now Jason KB has to be careful. They're gonna dive this, and Jason KB is tanky enough to survive. Does not matter. MG Dewey wasn't focusing the turret, and between him and Glub Glub and Sustain, they will get the Nexus. Congratulations to EXNL winning game 3 here, 34-20. The final scoreline, a kill a minute here for the side of EXNL. An absolute bloodbath here from both teams. Extremely, extremely well played. And, you know, just looking at the scoreline here, you can see Microthorn 9-6-5. At one point, I believe he was 9-2. So ended up dying a lot near the end of the game here. Wasn't able to have quite the same impact. When you take a look over on the side of EXNL, MG doing having much better game this time. 10-4-15 on the Lucian. Definitely doing really well for himself. And Glub Glub 9-3-19, sitting on bounty 300 gold. Same with MG Dilly. I'm very upset. Had a rough laning phase, but came back as well. 3-3-11. He's a tank, and that's the thing with tanks. You can beat them early, but late game they always bounce back. And now for both teams here, EXNL winning 2 out of the 3 games here. Definitely performing very, very well. But I think going forward, it's hard to say necessarily that EXNL was the better team here between the two, because it's really, really back and forth. Huge swings between the two teams here. So definitely looking forward to this Noxus League to see the teams, because if all of them are going to be this competitive, I think we've got a great league on our hands, which would be an absolute joy to watch here. And I think teams watching this game definitely have a couple people to keep in mind. Glub Glub for one on the side of EXNL. 3 unique different champions between the 3 unique games, so definitely hard to ban out, and plays the Assassins extremely well. On the side of Vengeful Reapers, Microthorn making a huge case for himself here with the Darius, with the Mordekaiser. They would definitely have to watch out for that. And Thresh, I think Thresh is definitely a champion to watch out for both of these teams here. J-Delian and Sustain both playing out of their minds with the death sentences, with the lanterns, doing extremely well here for themselves. And with that, that is the end here of the 3-game match between EXNL and Vengeful Reapers. Thank you so much, guys, for tuning in and watching. Really appreciate it. Can get a bit lonely casting these games sometimes. And we will be having Seven Men versus MG Nitro later today as well, 5 p.m. Eastern. So if you want to come and watch that as well, those games should be good ones for sure. And so hopefully we'll see you guys later and see you guys then.